I'm very pleased to have with us Chauncey DeVega, a political essayist, contributor to Salon and Alternet. His website, Chauncey DeVega, DeVega.com. Is that the website is spelled differently on my sheet, Chauncey, than your name is spelled? Is that a typo?
Apparently it is. It should just be Chauncey DeVega.
Okay, yeah. Okay, there you go. ChaunceyDevega.com. There you go.
There you go.
So you're asking the question. You wrote this brilliant piece that I think started at Salon and ended up over in Alternet, titled "Would Bundy Be Dead if he were black?" Or actually asserting that he would be in the original headline. Talk to us about this.
Well, I mean, Bundy's brigands, amosexual cowboy cosplayer, terrorist insurrectionists are running amok in Oregon. And I've been trying to follow the story since it broke Saturday, Sunday, and it's abundantly clear to anyone who is right-minded and clear-thinking that if they were black or brown, they would be referred to as thugs, as militants. God forbid they were Muslim, they'd be called terrorists. And the media framing on this is so utterly dishonest. I don't think I found one, I think maybe overseas, I found one headline that actually mentioned that they're white. So the sum takeaway from this story is, in many ways, if you're white and conservative, one of your greatest privileges is the ability to aim guns at federal authorities, participate in terrorism and insurrection, and get away scot-free.
Yeah, and walk around the cities of our country with a AR-14 strapped over your shoulder, and nobody thinks twice about it. But if you're black and you're 10 years old, God forbid you play with a toy gun. In a way, this is, in fact, I think you used the phrase in your article, white privilege on steroids, or words to that effect. You want to speak to that, to the issue of white privilege here?
Yeah, I mean, so white privilege, sort of the loose definition, would be sort of all the unearned advantages that come with being white in this society, right? We know that race is a social construct, it's a fiction, but our society gives it meaning. And just as you pointed out with Tamir Rice, if you're black or brown and you're a kid with a toy gun, you're dead. They'll shoot you. But if you're white and you're practicing, quote unquote, open carry, or if you join a quote unquote militia, which is just a group of thugs, then you're valorized and protected by the right-wing hate media. And that's something we really need to confront here, because these Bundy brigands, these marauders, are really a product of the right-wing hate media. And this goes back to the late 70s, the 80s, peaking in the Clinton years. Now we see that white right-wing domestic terrorism is one of the biggest threats to the country. And we're seeing membership in these organizations peaking under Barack Obama. So this is about race, it's about the government, and it's about the right-wing hate media. And there's never any sense of accountability.
Not only membership in these organizations peaking, but also, weird conspiracy theories, the whole, he's a secret Muslim, he's secretly gay, he's secretly Kenyan, whatever. And I think we can, and the massive spike in the sale of guns. When President Obama was inaugurated, both times when he was inaugurated, there was over 1 million, spike in the sale of weapons. This is illustrating the essential, I believe, the essential racism which is still alive and well, particularly among middle class, economically lower middle class white, in particular men in this country. What do we do about that?
Well, I mean, there's the big question. What do we do? Obviously, our educational system is broken. We live in a society that is extremely, extremely race stratified and race segregated. I think the last data I saw suggested that upwards of, at least in the high 80s or low 90% of white folks don't have one friend in their social network, not online, in their day-to-day lives, who is a person of color. I think we have a right-wing hate media, and we have a Republican Party, and I've written about this on my own site, ChaunceyDevega.com, talked about it in my podcast, Salon and Alternate with you earlier, that the Republican Party is now the country's largest white identity organization. They quite literally are. Donald Trump is George Wallace 2.0. You have the Southern strategy. You have these absurd claims about black and brown folk being criminals and thugs, Hispanics and Latinos wanting to come to America to rape white women. This is this old, ugly history. And there are moments, I got to be honest, where I know it's 2016, but sometimes it feels like it's 1916. This is really, really maddening.
Yeah, this was the kind of language Harry Anslinger used. It's pretty grim. I'm curious, we had a conversation in the previous hour about President Obama tearing up yesterday around the killings of so many different children, including and apparently particularly the killing in Sandy Hook. And there was one African American child in Sandy Hook who was killed. Her name was Anna Marquez Green, at least according to @eBlair19, who tweeted this to me. She was 7 years old. what are your thoughts on? I've had a couple of African Americans call into the program and say he shouldn't have allowed himself to tear up, and then I've had white people and myself. My own response was, I think that makes him seem more human and stronger. Actually, why the racial divide on the perception of the appropriateness of our first black president crying over the death?
Yeah, this gets us back to questions about black masculinity. The idea that black folks, especially black men, are very constrained in how we're allowed to show emotion. The fact that, unfortunately, because of the history of this country as a white supremacist and very violent society against people of color, we've had to be very restrained in our show of emotion. And this goes back to when Obama first took office. You know, the fact that you had all this discourse, these conversations about, is he allowed to be angry? One of my favorite professional wrestlers, The Rock, he actually did a great skit where he becomes like Barack Obama, the Hulk, and he actually shows some emotion. But I think the whole issue with Obama crying, it really, really touched me in the sense that you have these right-wing conservatives who are really demagogues, they're authoritarians, and in a lot of ways they're sociopathic in terms of their lack of affect and emotion and care and concern for other human beings, and that they looked at Barack Obama showing human concern and emotion as weakness. Right. You know, and I saw Brother Obama with those tears in his eyes. I said, you know, this is last year. He's on his way out, and who knows what his legacy will be. I certainly think he's one of the best presidents we've had in the modern era. But I think one of the footnotes on his presidency will be, what could he have done if he didn't face such strident disrespect, hatred, and overt racism from the Republican Party? I think that's one of the great what ifs in American history.
Oh, yeah. It's one of the reasons why they're blocking all his nominees, why half, you know, it's not half, but some significant and substantial number of his cabinet appointments are, you know, sitting around waiting. And it's still going on. I mean, Mitch McConnell is still doing everything he can to obstruct this man. And I can't come up with another reason. But the comment that was made by an African-American caller earlier was, Obama cried over the death of white kids. Why didn't he cry over the death of Tamir Rice or others, you know, other African-Americans that he has referred to in the past? Your thoughts on that?
Well, number one, I do think he probably shed a lot of tears in private. And what we saw with Trayvon Martin, a man, he's playing chess and other folk are playing checkers in a lot of ways. When he showed some minimal of human compassion for Trayvon Martin, said, hey, that could have been my kid. Or when he talked about how Henry Louis Gates was harassed by the local police, the right-wing media pilloried him. So Barack Obama is in this weird place. He's a president who happens to be black. He's not a black president. And that's a very carefully nuanced and parsed observation on my part. He can't show his full humanity. He can't be proactive. He's challenged in so many ways simply because of the color of his skin and because of extreme right-wing political ideology. So when I hear folks complain about Barack Obama and they're calling up those straw men about why couldn't he cry for Tamir, I'm sure Barack Obama did cry for Tamir.
Well, that was my thought too. So really, what we're talking about here is the toxic legacy of white supremacy. I mean, let's just name it what it is it not?
Absolutely. I mean, and one of my favorite scholars, historian Noel Ignatieff, he very famously has said that treason to whiteness is loyalty to humanity. Right? And that's not talking about white brothers and sisters. We're talking about the political and social construct of white supremacy. All right.
Oh, and I know it well. I mean, I go on this program and I talk about white supremacy, and I get email from white guys calling me a traitor to my race, among other things. And, you know, it happens with surprising regularity.
And I get those emails too, and I smile and nod my head because a lot of it is just pathological. But I'm just hoping as we sort of think about the moment of Black Lives Matter, and we have our white brothers and sisters who've always been in the struggle civil rights in this country, that we take a step back and say, this is about human rights. So when I write about Tamir Rice, when I write about this madness in Oregon, when I've written extensively about police thuggery and brutality, for me, this is a human rights issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. Chauncey DeVega, one of our most brilliant public intellectuals. I'm so pleased to have you on the program today. Thank you, Chauncey.
Thank you for having me.
To watch more clips from our programs, hit the Watch More Videos button over here. And please be sure to hit the handy-dandy subscribe button so you'll always be up to date. Tag, you're it.